Okay.
There we go.
So with that, I will welcome those of you who are here. Um, this is the Energy and Climate Committees of the Cape and Islands. My name is Liz Argo. Dan, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, just to make sure.
Yep, loud and
Good.
clear.
And you have the agenda visible, I believe. Good.
Too
So
small.
this is our biannual. We have a spring and a fall meeting. We've been doing this since 2017. It's an opportunity for the energy and the climate, because now we have a lot of climate committees, to get together and share, as the agenda says, to network, to discuss prospects, to coordinate efforts, and to share accomplishments. Before I go any further, let me note that we are recording this session. Is anybody else recording this session? If you are, please put your hand up. I don't see any other hands. We will use the chat and the hands feature. So familiarize yourself with those on the Zoom platform. The website, the ECCCI, as we like to call ourselves, and in short, the website is very handy. Well, I keep it up to date, and there's a special page with all of the town reports. And it would be great if the towns have stuff that they want to post on their website, on their page under their town name. Send it to me, and I'll get it done for you. So I manage that website, and it's a very handy tool. Um, there will be question and answer at the end of each presentation, time permitting. And as I said, use your chat and your hand raise features. And I'd like to introduce our sponsors now. We have the Cape Light Compact, that is our first sponsor, and the other sponsor is the Cape and Islands Climate Change Collaborative. And we will have updates from them as well as from the Cape Cod Commission. We have today Lisa Sullivan. I think she's here. Lisa, can you check in? Are you here? I do not see her on our list. She's the regional coordinator of Green Communities, and she was to be here. She may show up, and that would be great. Because we have guests from the building industry today. I know we have Matt Teague, because I can see him on the list from from Reef Builders. Hi, Matt. And maybe we have Aaron Polimas. I don't know if he's here yet. Let's see, under A's. Don't see him yet, but hopefully he'll be coming on board as
I'm
well.
not I'm not sure Aaron's going to make it, Liz.
No
This
problem.
is Matt.
I'm glad you're here, Matt.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. And I want to give a special thanks to Bob Higgins Steele, because he last spring's ECCI meeting gave us an update on the Truro efforts towards climate leader status. And if you are interested on how Truro accomplished becoming a climate leader, the video is on the ECCI website. And of course, we also have members from Martha's Vineyard, and many of the Martha's Vineyard towns, I believe, have accomplished climate leader status, and others are on their way. Julia, do you have an update on that?
No, sorry, I don't. I don't think Edgartown is on that list.
No problem.
I would say Aquina and Westisbury, but it's not
Ah,
publicly shared, so
please
I think
introduce
it's not yet.
yourself. Sakiko, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Sakiko. Sorry, I just wanted to. It's like, yes, we do. I'm climate resilience planner at the Martha's Vineyard Commission. I started in July, so this is my fifth month in. Nice to meet y'all. I have to hop at 5, but
No
yeah,
problem. Great to
excited
have
to be
you.
here.
So
Thanks.
who has gotten climate leader status on Martha's Vineyard? Aquina?
Aquina and Westisbury.
Okay, excellent. Um, so we were hoping we will be having a discussion with the towns. You are all welcome to ask questions, and I'll moderate to the best of my ability. We were hoping we would have Lisa Sullivan here as well. Again, she may pop on. And we have Matt Teague here. We have all been aware of the climate leaders opportunity. And let me see if I can, no, not going to be able to do that. Hang on a second. I made a cute little graphic. We don't want to miss the cute little graphic. So here we go. There you go. And you see the adorable little graphic? So, I mean, to become a climate leader, there are 6 aspects, which you can see this little graphic, right?
It's
Yeah.
very small.
Very small. Let's make it bigger. How's that? Better?
Better.
Okay. So the many of us, all of us, have achieved green community status. And the next step towards getting grants is to get climate leader status. And their criteria that are required is to maintain the previous green communities criteria that you already have achieved. They, for instance, the managing the fossil fuel, the amounts that you are reducing over the course of each year needs to be maintained and reported on every year to maintain your green communities status. You also have to have a local committee that advises and helps to coordinate clean energy and climate activities, which all of the towns on the Cape and Martha's Vineyard do, because that's who's meeting here tonight. We have to commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use by each municipality by 2050. For that municipality to become a climate leader, they have to commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use. And there needs to be a roadmap for decarbonizing municipal operations, which is town buildings and school buildings, drinking water and wastewater treatment plants, pump stations, open space requirements, and vehicles, which need to go to number 5, which is a zero emission vehicle whenever such vehicles are commercially available and practicable. Or you can have a replacement plan for non-exempt vehicles with zero emission vehicles. And here's the tough one. See my funny little face? Ha ha ha. Adopt the specialized energy code designed to ensure that new construction is consistent with 2050 net zero goals. And that will be accomplished primarily through deep energy efficiency, reduced heating loads, and electrification. So that's the stumbling block, our specialized energy code adoption, largely because it is a reach. It is trying to get us lined up for the 2050 net zero goals. And that means going further in a lot of the codes than one would normally expect to adopt at this stage of building. But it's pushing us to get ready for the 2050 goals. So with that, I'm going to say hello to Matt. Matt, say something so I can find you.
Hi, how are you guys?
There you are. There's
How are you
Matt.
doing?
Great.
Hi.
So,
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
well, we're just delighted to have you. And after we finish a discussion and I kind of have a timetable on it, we'll then have updates from the Cape Cod Commission and the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative and
Sure.
and the Cape Light Compact. So tell us a little bit about Matt, about what's the challenges in the adopting the specialized.
Sure. So the biggest driver in the specialized code, many of you are familiar with stretch code and the HERS rating program, right? So homes are given a score based on a various set of criteria. A lower score is better, right? So the municipal opt-in code or the specialized code uses that score by several points, right? There is a mixed fuel option, which does allow for some fossil fuels. They in that option that the score is lower, right? So you have to do a lot of trade-offs. Basically, it's designed to move fossil fuels out as a primary heating source. And then I believe homes over 4,000 square feet are also required to basically be all electric. There's also some additional electric preparations that have to be done. Homes need pre-wiring for certain, obviously a car charger and some other pre-wiring. So, for example, if we were to build a house now and get it approved with a gas range, for instance, then I would also have to pre-wire for future removal of that fossil fuel burning device and tie it into a 220 volt or otherwise conventional all electric service. One of the challenges we have, and I'll give you a little bit of my background. I've been a builder on the Cape for quite some time. I grew up here, got a degree in civil engineering from the United States Military Academy at West Point, and have been in the building and engineering business my entire life. I also served on the Governor's Commission for Energy, Infrastructure Siting and Permitting, in which we examined ways to expedite permitting for the full electrification and grid expansion, primarily for renewables, but much of the conversation was about grid capacity and otherwise. So I come at this from a little bit different background than most builders. I'm also vice president of the Home Builders Remodel Association of Massachusetts. So been involved in this discussion for quite some time. The homes we build, the physical house you build, the way it's built, the amount of insulation, the amount of energy, air sealing, stuff like that. It is the same house I'm building in any other town, right? Whether they're in the stretch code or not. The base code in the state of Massachusetts is the highest in the country, right? Pretty close. Maybe California's more than that. And then what the real difference is when you move to the stretch code, the HERS rating process goes in. So if I were to build that house today in Barnstable, a non-stretch code town, until next year, and I build that house in, say, Dennis, right? The real difference is that I have to get a score, and I have to, and that data is collected and sent out, right? So when you move to the specialized code, it really drives a full electrification of the home. The challenge we currently have, I've done a few of these, many homes now will require a 200 to 400 amp electric service, the real complaint that I get in all electric homes is that the customers will call me up and go, Matt, I got a $1,100 electric bill this month. And I go, yes. So yes, they are more efficient in terms of net zero consumption. They get expensive to operate, I guess would be the answer. In stretch code towns, we're still able to put some sort of fossil fuel source in there that does be able to offset it. But this really drives you to the conclusion that it shouldn't be, that there should be no fossil fuels. Ironically, when I heat a house, and this I think is a good example, when I heat a house with in a stretch code town, maybe some gas heat, I can get a generator for that whole house that's about 20 kilowatt hour rated. Okay, I've done houses, all full electric houses, 3,000-4,000 square feet. When the power goes out, the heating system doesn't work, and we're putting 80 to 100 kilowatt generators on these sites. These are the kind you see outside of like a school building, and they do work. They also have a 2.5-inch gas line, right? And that is exempted from the code, right? So it does offer some a path forward to move to a net zero house, right? We're building the most efficient houses we've ever built. They're incredible, right? Super quiet, like amazing. The windows, it does drive some of the technology. One of the things I think you have to consider in adopting this is the cost to the consumer, the average person, and I mean the statistical average person. Think about earnings, think about what they're struggling with. Um, and when you move to the all-electric status, that electric bill becomes a much more significant component of their of their monthly budget. And despite being more efficient, that's what I think maybe some of the fear is. So I think it's just something you really got to give strong consideration to the long-term impacts. I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I'm going to interrupt Matt and got my hand up, so I'm being
Okay.
rules because I think what my next question would be is have these potential electrified homes not installed their solar panels? Is that why their costs are so high?
Even a robust solar panel system will not have a significant impact when you put the full heating load of a home on the on the on the electrical grid, on the electrical system. It's very difficult. You consume a lot more power, right? A lot more power. Because remember, when I build that house, it's not much different than what I'm building in the stretch code town, right? Same amount of insulation, basically, same amount of, right? And so it's a start, right? It's a start to that sort of moving towards a net zero thing, but I think the technology's got to catch up a little bit.
All right. I think it does remind me of where we were when the stretch code
Mm-hmm.
was beyond adoption because it was requiring so much. And I feel a little bit like the state is pushing us. It's really kind of we're in the same situation where
Mm-hmm.
we will get there, and those who can go now, Aquina
Right.
and Truro, and I'm sorry, I've already forgotten the other town was West Tisbury, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the pioneers, if you will, and it
Sure.
will help us go forward. I see Dan Shell, who's with the Cape Light Compact. Dan, do you want to speak what you put into the chat for everybody?
Yeah, Matt, I'm just curious with the new heat pump rate. I mean, really that as we're seeing that should bring costs comparable with gas heating. Are you guys starting to
Not,
look at that and how
not
that'll
even
impact?
not even close.
And
It
everybody should
won't.
understand what that is. So, Dan, if you could explain.
Yes, to starting on November 1st, all the utilities in Massachusetts are now offering a reduced rate on
Mm-hmm.
electric pricing for customers who heat either partially or fully
Mm-hmm.
with heat pumps.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that, yeah, go ahead.
I'd be happy to look at that with you over the next year. I think that would be a great study. But I still don't think it's gonna. I mean, we're even small units. I mean, these are people are choking down, 11, 12, $1,500 a month. And unless they're going to reduce that by a third, I don't know that it's going to be that significant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the rate reduction is, I don't know if it's quite a third, but it is significant. And they were
Yep.
designed to bring the costs in line with gas heating to make it a comparable heating cost.
Yeah, I think that could make a difference. You know what I mean? It's an interesting opportunity. I don't know how sustainable that is, right? Because if I mean, the money from that's going to come from somewhere. You know what I mean? And that's my concern.
I
Yeah,
think
the rate is it was designed to be revenue neutral, so the thought is that this, increased load is now that the distribution and transmission costs are distributed against a larger volume
Hmm.
of kilowatts that wasn't originally anticipated. So it's not that money's being pulled from somewhere else, it's just there's now a similar amount of money being spread across more kilowatt hours.
Right. I'd be interested to see that hit the road and see if it really works. If it does, great. I mean, it's
Yep.
fantastic, right? Um, um, I think if they were to, and I'll just put this out there, I think if that that move to net zero is important, I think it might be better served on a on an individual basis, like as an incentive, right? Right. I elect to build my house to a very high standard of performance. I'm paying a premium for that. I think the state mandates, if they want to incentivize that, I think it would be a really strong way to look at the program. I think, again, remember, you've got a housing situation here where even as of this year, we've got the lowest housing starts in Massachusetts, and people can't afford stuff. And, again, I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm just telling you what I've heard from my customers. They're like shocked by the cost of the stuff, just shocked, you know.
Um, Christine, are you in a position that you might speak what you put into chat? She's in her car. There she is.
Oh, sure, sure. I'm in my electric car.
Tell us
But
who you are first.
okay, so my name is Christine Boucher. I am the municipal energy manager for the town of Yarmouth. And I have electrified my home, and it is a standard like 1,100 square foot home. I actually renovated my basement, so I just doubled the size of it. I have a garage. I zoned it out for 3 zones with a heat pump and a heat pump water heater. And I have a solar array. Again, my roof is not, it's just a really standard generally one level cape with, a roof and a garage. And my solar array covers my load plus. I looked at my bill this morning and I had an $1,100 credit with Eversource because the
Right.
bills just came out today. So I'm wondering, um, I'm and I have everything's electric. I took out the natural gas. Potentially my car will become, like the backup battery to my house because soon, hopefully Eversource will have that program started. But I'm just wondering, you're saying that I can't imagine that a large array. So like say I have 16
They're
to
not.
18 panels.
I totally agree with you. Here's the problem.
Yeah,
Right. I was gonna upgrade my office building, right, to
yeah.
a 30 kilowatt system, right? Because I've had solar panels in my office for 20 years. It was going to cost me
Hmm.
$11,000 out of pocket last year. It cost me $257,000 this year. I'm not doing it. Right. I got people to pay. So that's you did it right. I mean, I commend you. It's totally doable. It's totally doable. It's without some floor under it, it gets very, very expensive. You know what I mean? Very, very expensive. So
Katie, would you like to it's a good segue to what Katie wrote in
Sure.
chat.
Thank you, Liz. I'm all over the comment
Tell
thread.
us who you are.
I'm Katie Atchison. I'm the new executive director for the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative under the umbrella of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the invite tonight. I commented on Christine's. We have a solar array, 2 home batteries. We also have 2 EVs, and in darker, shorter days of the year, the demand for the electric vehicles is too high for our array. Like you, Christine, we have a negative balance with our friends at Eversource, but that only lasts us through until about we put Christmas lights up. So, so, and I think also in this conversation that we're having that I think Matt is getting to, and I think Dan probably faces too, is an equitable, like a affordability problem. I feel very privileged to have an electric vehicle, home batteries, and be able to afford solar like Matt's talking about. the rates are sometimes the largest barrier. Do you want me to go on to my other question, Liz, that I popped in there?
Well, let me ask Pat Taylor. She has asked, and this is for Matt, the passive type of insulation, which is key to a passively efficient home. Are you designing with that in mind? And clearly, Matt, the specialized opt-in code, I believe it's requiring even larger bays in your walls so that you can have thicker insulation. Is that true?
Currently, we can get the insulation values in a lot of the walls. Again, there's some offset in the HERS rating, right? So you can put more on the top and more on the side, or some in the basement, right? There's different ways to do it. I think as that code moves forward, then yeah, they're going to have to go to probably a thicker wall. I'll give you an example. I'm building a 1,300 square foot single story house in Dennis right now. Under the current insulation protocol, that insulation is costing me $32,000.
Wow.
Right. So imagine if you went to 2x8 walls.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just going to get a little more complicated. I mean, one of the things they have offered is some carbon offset for embodied carbon. Right. We get a little benefit for that. And that comes from the concrete. They've designated the concrete as an embodied carbon thing. There's other ways to do it. But it's I think part of the challenge we've had in the building industry is that we're currently under a mandate from the state to adopt the latest ECCCI International base code every 3 years, right? It has not changed dramatically over the last couple of years, but it has over the last 10. And when we operate in various towns, we are sorry, we've got guys from work texting me about insulation. It's all different for us, right? Also, in an effort to move the industry forward, I get it, love it. I love efficiency, right? My dream is to clip my electric lines. That's my dream, right? It's a big learning curve. It's a big learning curve, right? We don't have great installation protocols for 2x8 walls right now, right? We're going to muddle our way through it for the next few years and then figure it out. But in that interim, it's going to get it very expensive because guys are going to go, what do I do? What do I do? No one's done it, right? We build some of these things you're doing for the first time in a town. Building inspectors are not particularly tuned up to this. They've got enough problems going on. They don't need to learn a new code every year and a half. And I think that's the risk, right? Is that and again, my argument solely in terms of affordability is we get subject to the whims of the DOER, and they've got some great concepts, right? Got some great concepts, but recently in the stretch code, they came out and said, hey, this applies to all renovations, and it caused mayhem in the industry, and they ended up having to back off on it in April. Right. And there were jobs that were canceled and stuff that wasn't done, and people were disappointed and costs went up and people said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I'm just complying with the law. Right. And then it disappeared and it's changed. It's dramatic. I'm doing more renovations now than I am new houses.
No kidding.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing I'll offer to you guys, and I think this is really something worth considering, right? Is you look at the state of Vermont, right? They've eliminated local codes, right? They've rolled their energy code back to the 2015 level, right? Because it's killed their housing industry. Huh. California over the summer stopped doing advanced codes because of the same thing. There was these experimental codes. They did all this kind of stuff, and it caused all kinds of problems with the state, right? So I'm not against efficiency at all. I think we build the most efficient houses in the country, especially under the stretch code. I think to mandate it across a town is challenging. I think, and you're not going to see those challenges come back for 5, 10, 15 years. When somebody says, hey, I'm going to renovate my house, and you go, I have to do what? I got to rip out my perfectly good gas boiler. It's if you're willing to stand up and answer that question to some person whose boiler just died, you know what I mean? Like, that's a hard pill to swallow. So there's got to be an incentive trail for it. It sounds like this, the state is working on that, but it's got to be substantial. Were we to do a deep energy retrofit across the state, that's a $240 billion project, billions, right? So we just got to find a way to do it. I think mandating it now is going to be tough for future generations. You know what I mean? In our own, and your peers, right? It's gonna change things.
There's a Brian Boyle. You still here? Yep. Hi, Brian. Case study. Again, it's one of the reasons I bring it forward is because he notes that it was the costs were kept under control. So do you want to tell us a little bit?
Yeah, Brian Boyle, Truro, Energy Committee co-chair. We had, we passed a specialized code, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, so I forget. But to me, the big difference was the difference between new construction and renovations. And we focus mostly on new construction because renovations are difficult. And I think Matt alluded to something like you only have to use the new code on renovations if you do more than half of it or something like that.
Yeah, it's called a tier 3 renovation, which is and it's a major renovation, I guess would be the.
Yeah, exactly. So we so we said, all right, well, let's just focus on new construction. What can we do on new construction? What are the economics and the returns on that? And we had two people in town, one who is actually moved to Wellfleet during the course of it and built a passive house, 2,300 square foot home in Wellfleet. And a year later, another resident of Truro, in North Truro, built a similar home. He's still finishing his off, but the one in Wellfleet now has been through a full season of heating, cooling, and all that. And that house, the secret to that house was he had a completely opposite experience of what Matt described. And let me explain how he did it. He had his house made by Bensonwood, Unity Homes, manufactured process out of Keene, New Hampshire, which builds basically passive house standard homes. They have all kinds of models that you can choose from. His is a 3-bedroom, 2-story building. I asked him to fully he's very gung-ho on everything. So I asked him to take documents. So I have all his photos, all his drawings, all his costs, all his data. So we're in the process of doing a case study on that when we get the time. But he put in 2 mini splits, 2 air source heat pumps, one for the first floor, one for the second floor. It has a energy recovery ventilator in there for ventilation. It's built to passive house standards, so it has a very low HERS rating. And it's all electric, of course. He has a garage, a 2-car garage. That 2-car garage has solar panels on the entire roof to power his electricity. On an annual basis, he runs a net, and he has a Tesla that he drives more than the average miles. Between the house and the Tesla and the solar, he has a negative electric bill for the entire year.
Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah, and maybe the secret is, obviously that would be more difficult to achieve if you had a Cape Cod house that was built in 1970, and you were trying to retrofit it. But the walls are like 2x10s or something. I mean, they're really thick walls. They come pre-insulated. The whole thing is designed on a computer at Bensonwood, Ted Benson's like the father of timber framing industry. And they have a highly automated computerized plant in New Hampshire So the drawings come out of the computer and everything is made in the factory. So they control everything and every wall, every roof panel. It's kind of similar to SIP constructions if you're familiar with structural insulated panels only. It comes out, gets shrink wrapped like they do with boats, and gets put on a tractor trailer truck and sent down to the Cape with a crane. And about 1 to 2 weeks later, you've got a weatherproof house on a foundation. And then it gets finished by a local contractor. So maybe part of that is a kit house for a 2,300 square foot building. I think he paid like $400,000 for that and assembled. So you get a lot of cost economics there. Now you're still paying local rates, to put in countertops and sheetrocking and drywall and all that. But so it's clear that new construction, that if you follow that path, that you can achieve what the specialized code asks for. But that means you got to do it that way. It's much harder to do if you do it stick built the traditional way. I built my house in 2010, or really 2005 to 2010, because I was kind of slow, and I had 2x6s and blown in, spray foam insulation and everything like that, and it was quite a process, and I'm sure it was a lot more expensive, but there is a way to do it, but you've got
But I think Matt's point
is what I'm saying,
Matt's points are well taken, though, because we're talking about the pioneers, if you will, to bring this forward. So
I've built modular homes before. We worked with a great modular company, and we do, I'm familiar with Benson Wood and what they do, and we with the houses I'm building now, we build very similar to them. It's panelized construction. It's the way houses are built today, right? But I think was that 400,000, Brian, he paid just for the Benson Wood package?
Yeah,
that's the package. Yeah, that was for their package. Yeah.
So that house with the foundation, finished flooring, all that kind of stuff, right? That house is probably about $1 million built.
That's what he said. He said he paid all in about $1 million.
So that's a 2,300 square foot house.
Yeah. So it's
right. So the challenge is, even without those insulation requirements, it's still going to cost you $600, $700, $800, $900,000 to build something that big. Families can't afford that.
Right.
The young families that work for me, right, who would love to have a 2,000 square foot house that they grew up in, they can't afford that. They'll never afford it. And that's just something to think about down the road, because it's just going to, you guys know how the market goes. Things just get more expensive. So mandating it is really you're really going to think long term about it. That's all I'd tell you.
And I think that's what the state is trying to impose. And because if to go back to my theory that's how we all reacted to the stretch code, and now it's part and parcel of how we're approaching things. But so back to the conversation from the town's viewpoints, which are that trying to get climate leader status, because the grants that are offered, it is the next version of green communities, and those grants are welcome, but it may be too big of a reach for many because of this specialized code. Anybody from the town viewpoint want to speak on that? Any hands? Or just, yes, Barry, unmute yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Barry Margolan from Yarmouth. I think if it were an accurate fact that anybody who lives in a specialized code home is going to pay $1,100 a month in electricity, that'd be a fatal flaw. But I heard a number of folks tonight talk about their own experience. I'm another homeowner who's got a solar array heat pumps, an electric vehicle that I charge in my garage, and I don't think I've got a system that's efficient enough yet to maximize the benefit. But my average bill over the last year was $250 a month, and net to EverSource, because most of my electricity is coming from the solar panels. The other factoid I keep thinking about is Bob Riley's the director of construction at Habitat for Humanity, Cape Cod, and he's come and talked both to our energy committee and to groups around the Cape. They build 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom homes. And their model now is an extremely efficiently insulated small home with 6 solar panels that supplies the entire power supply for heating, cooling, cooking for those homes, and those the residents don't have a utility bill, so that the range of outcomes. I mean, part of it is, I mean, our house is extremely efficient. When we did the energy audit, there was like nothing they could add to improve the efficiency. Highly efficient building envelope is part of this, what it takes to make this work. But I'm just skeptical that Mike's observation is representative of the inevitable outcome of a specialized code construction strategy. And I think before
it's not the inevitable. Yeah, it's not the inevitable outcome because you guys have the solar offset, right? You've got the solar offset. I totally get it. I'd love it, right? A lot of that solar credit's gone, right? And I think, again, I'm thinking about the young couple who's trying to buy a piece of land, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen what a piece of land goes for, or buy a house and have to renovate it, in excess of 50% of the floor area, which is most houses need to be done with that. Do you have to mandate it? What do we, outside of the other incentives to becoming the climate leader, why mandate it? Why burden someone who's just starting out? Why burden them with it?
Well, I think that we're talking about at least to adopt the stretch code and have that mandated is what we're all kind of pushing for. That's and I think down the road, that's like back to my premise that down the road, it's going the specialized is going to be easier to achieve and more affordable too. I think that's what the state's hooking everything on. Julia, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that one of the problems that, and I don't know exactly where this is, but what I've heard is not so much this problem, but the municipal vehicle problem. Because on the vineyard, you cannot get an electric vehicle serviced. And if something goes wrong with it, it's very hard to get it off the island because the steamship won't take it. They think they're going to burst into flame or something.
Oh, that's
so
an interesting problem.
Yeah. So some of the towns are resisting on that basis, and I don't know when that problem will abate. Eventually, I suppose we will have electric vehicle servicing available on the vineyard, but we don't yet.
Yeah, interesting. Oh boy. Christine, unmute yourself.
I am wondering, was anybody else besides myself at the National Grid conference about 2.5, 3 weeks ago?
No.
So basically, we're trying to electrify because of the fact that there's not enough natural gas to cover the load to generate electricity. And that is the most important thing, as you're looking out 10 years for transmission. That's really the most important line item for electricity generation. So not only are we trying to decarbonize, is they're really trying to balance the fact that we have to get all these large buildings off natural gas. We have to make a dent within the housing market, so that that capacity is there, and that is emergency capacity that has to be the forefront, or that it is the forefront and the most important piece of this whole puzzle, right? So unless we get fusion in the next, 5 years, which potentially we could, to generate electricity, Massachusetts is not bringing in more natural gas. We're at the end of the pipeline. And that was the take from National Grid at that conference.
Okay, and Katie Atchison, she had earlier, she had wondered in chat, the additional load, if everybody goes electrifies, how's the grid infrastructure going to handle entire communities on electricity? And that goes to the question that Christine raised, and it's a huge one. From when you get into that level of research and the conferences that are constantly coming forward to be, attend this, attend that, attend this, attend that. It is generally always about how are the utilities going to handle this. So
I can actually speak to that, Liz,
go
because I
ahead
sat
then.
on the
Please
governor's
do.
commission. So, the grid problem is a 50 or 100-year problem. The scale of it is massive, 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 massive. The thought that in even 10 years we could go all electric in the state is not even close to realistic, right? One of the reasons natural gas infrastructure is under pressure and outside of the supply issues is that commission paved the way for grid improvements as long as they weren't connected to fossil fuels, right? So we were ready to waived all sorts of regulations. So now we're in a bind because they kind of put all the eggs in one basket, and we're so far away from having grid capacity to handle 200 amp electric services at some houses, or and I'm talking larger houses, right? It's a challenge, and I'm all for it. I love it. I'm dying to do it, right? It's just it's a longer term problem than it is. Again, I think it's a better opportunity to incentivize making a net zero home. I think a lot of the people here in the meeting today have done a great job doing it. The technology's there, that sort of thing. I would rather see the money spent to support that effort than to mandate it across town wide. And really realistically, in probably 5 to 7 years, the base code is going to be at the same level it is today. Right. So we're going to get there. Right. I think mandating it is going to be tough for people. It's going to be tough for people.
All right. Well, we are at the 5:20 mark. I want to wrap this conversation up so that we can get our updates from the sponsors and the Cape Cod Commission. I haven't heard from somebody, Tom or Roberta. Anybody else want to weigh in before we move on? Susan looks like she's in a spaceship.
If I could leave you guys with one thing, and I'll leave you alone. So
Matt, first, before you can't leave us alone because you're
Sure.
going to have to come back more because this was
Okay,
fabulous.
thank you.
So.
The lowest number of housing starts in the state of Massachusetts this year since 1974. Of the areas statistically in who are normally producing that, around in the greater Boston area, the towns that have the lowest housing starts in the state versus what they've traditionally done are the towns that have adopted the specialized code.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, I'm totally for efficient houses. I'm totally for cutting edge technology. I love it. I live it. Right. I'm a student of engineering.
Yeah.
Right. it also it gets it's you got to remember everybody, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think we're seeing history repeat itself. The towns that have adopted the specialized were the first ones to adopt the stretch,
right.
and so it goes, to
Hmm.
quote Kurt Vonnegut. So I thank you, Matt.
Thank you
Stick
guys. Yeah.
around if you want. Otherwise, we will
Yep.
want you
I'm gonna
back.
make my kids. I gotta make my kids dinner.
All right, we'll all be over. What time? Half an hour? I'll give you a half hour. You
Yeah,
will.
sure. Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Matt.
the opportunity, guys. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. So, we have our updates from, Katie, can you give us an update from the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative?
Sure can. Thank you so much. The Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative, it hasn't been, widely spread news, but it hasn't been secret either, has come under the umbrella of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. So what that means is my paycheck comes from the Cape Cod Chamber, but I'm working on behalf of the mission of the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative. We have staff support for events, finance, HR, et cetera. And with that change came some change in the board structure and some now long-term sort of planning and refocusing. Every organization has to go through some sort of like adjustments at some point, and the collaborative being almost 10 years old, it's a good time for it. So the board and advisory committee are going through process over the next 4 or 5 months of some, we're not calling it strategic planning, we're calling it refocus planning. So nobody likes the word strategic and planning put together. But what we're going to be doing is I'm meeting one-on-one with folks on the advisory committee just to really have some listening sessions and understand where everyone stands on the Cape and Islands' most pressing climate needs and concerns. But in the meantime, we're still attending events, trying to keep up with the email inbox, and we hosted a net zero conference on October 14th. Dan was gracious enough to be there to talk about Cape Light Compact, and we had someone from the commission as well. We had about 22 speakers packed into 5 hours. It was kind of wild, but it was very successful. Some of the emerging sort of reoccurring concerns people are having is insurability with coastal flood insurance and insurance premiums increasing. So we'll be talking more, you'll be hearing more about that from the Chamber and from the Climate Collaborative. Forced retreats from sea level rise and flooding, severe storms, grid readiness is a big topic, not only for the Climate Change Collaborative, but another organization under the Chamber is the Cape Cod Blue Economy Foundation, and we've been talking about that for a little while as well, and education and convening. So those are some of the priorities of the foundation, and really working on right now trying to identify the Climate Collaborative's ideal role in this incredible community of activists, municipal workers, organizers in the climate space. So I'll put my email in the chat again, but if anyone wants to have a Zoom one-on-one with me to share some of their thoughts and ideas, that's the process we're going through right now. So I'll do that. If you send me an email, I'll send you my calendar so we can have a chat. And so, yeah, from the outside, the cadence is going to look very similar, but we are hopefully by the early spring, we'll have sort of a little bit more focus, and we'll be able to share some of our key focal areas for climate concerns in the region.
Great. Oh, that's encouraging. It's good to hear. Dan, would you like to update us on the Cape Light Compact?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Liz. So I just a few items. One, some of us were talking about at the start of the meeting, and I just wanted to draw folks' attention if they weren't aware that there was a House bill filed, House Bill 3469, that is an omnibus energy bill that proposes some pretty sweeping changes to just about everything that is energy related in the state. The ones that we're particularly watching are reductions in the Mass Save budget for the current 3-year plan that we're in, and then a $4 billion budget cap for the next 3-year plan and moving forward. There's some changes to how the renewable portfolio standard yearly step increases would be rolled out. I think the big one that's kind of sounded some alarm bells for folks has been the potential for the 2030 greenhouse gas emission goals, reduction goals, could potentially be made non-binding. So there's a lot of interesting, I think is the word I'll use, things in there that I would encourage everyone to at least loosely familiarize yourself with, and then take action as you feel so called to do so, if you do. Beyond that, just some other quick updates. We are in the process, we're getting close to 2026, which just means that we'll be rolling out some changes to some of the rebate amounts, primarily on heat pumps. To stay within the budget cap we were given, we did plan a step down of those heat pump rebate amounts each year over the 3-year plan. So right now the whole home heat pump rebate is capped at $10,000. That'll be stepped down to $8,500 per home, and similar reductions are made for commercial heat pumps. So if folks are planning to install heat pumps in 2026, definitely take a look at what those reductions will be. The other is we did just want to keep plugging our new moderate income turnkey offers. So these are for customers who are between the 60 and 80% of the area median income, where we will cover 100% of weatherization work, your insulation and air sealing. If there's any barriers to having that done, so that's knob and tube, mold, vermiculite, any of those things, we cover that at 100%. And then we'll also electrify the home with heat pumps at 100% covered as well. So we've always kind of done that for customers below 60, but new this plan, we're doing that for customers at 60 to 80, with the caveat that that's specific to non-gas heated homes. So your oil, propane, and electric resistance homes would be eligible for that. And part of that ties into the operating costs. We don't want to see those go up. The other we touched on briefly is just a plug for the Eversource heat pump rate. This is pretty groundbreaking for heat pumps. I think anyone that knew anyone that was heating with heat pumps definitely felt that squeeze last winter when we had some pretty intense cold snaps and people saw their bills spiking. So this should really help bring heat pump operating costs during the winter months in line with natural gas. That's kind of what the design was. CLC isn't directly involved in that heat pump rate. We're just trying to help spread the word. So if customers have heat pumps and were not automatically enrolled, they can do so through the Eversource website now. They have a portal available where you can upload documents. And then the last thing I just wanted to plug is our energy coaching services. This is relatively new, maybe close to a year now, where as opposed to jumping right into a home energy assessment, we're really trying to better cater to customers and meet them where they're at. So this could be a service where a customer has a 30-minute virtual or in-person call with one of our staff members to really get any and all of their questions answered about what they should be doing next in their home, and really kind of handhold them through what the next steps would be for them with their home. And I will just plug, I think I saw Tom on from Eastham. We did a really good session with the Eastham Energy Committee, where I came and spoke for about 30 minutes just about all of our different programs that are available to homeowners. And then we actually broke out into working groups with homeowners that were present and got to kind of like do that energy coaching in small groups with them, with some of their local experts as well. And I thought that was a really great model. And that's just to put the plug out there. If other towns would like to kind of mirror that, I am happy to coordinate that with folks. And I will just drop my email if anyone is interested in doing that. And that's it from CLC.
Christine, what you got?
For the energy coaching, did you build that out on your website that like maybe the towns can either link to it or, copy it, mimic it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I will drop a link. We're using Microsoft Booking, so a customer can actually just go to the website and book a time for the meeting right then and there.
Super. Okay. Cooking right along. Michelle White from the Cape Cod Commission.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Liz, again for another great ECCE meeting. I always enjoy these, so thanks for coordinating. I've got two small updates from the commission. One is just to make you aware of a program if you haven't heard of it already. It's with the Green Energy Consumers Alliance and some partners with funding from the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. It's called Community Charge, and it provides technical assistance to public and nonprofit entities and organizations who want to install EV charging for public use. So I can drop a link to that program in the chat. Give me one moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I just wanted to note, again, if you haven't seen this yet, the state has recently released their first round of large building energy reporting from buildings that are larger than 20,000 square feet. They're required to report their energy use to the state. I can drop a link to that in the chat also. This is a website with program information, but they've also created a data viewer where you can sort by communities and get energy use information from large buildings in the community. So we are just in the process of starting to look at this data. It appears to be at the community level. So we're looking at bringing all of the Cape Towns together so we can get kind of a regional sense of what that energy use looks like for all of our large buildings in the region. I will note too that it's also seems to be by zip code. So certain villages like Hyannis and Buzzards Bay, for example, are separate from Bourne and Barnstable filters. So when you do go through, just make sure that I think Yarmouth Port might be another instance where a village is separate from the town data.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're looking at aggregating it to the town level so we can have a clearer picture of what that is. And they include different fuel sources and greenhouse gas emissions associated with those. So we're hoping, this is yearly reporting that buildings are supposed to do. We're hoping in future years to come that we'll be able to continue to collect this data, put it together, and see how we're tracking as a region overall for our larger buildings in terms of energy use and also greenhouse gas emissions. So just wanted to share that for anyone who's interested in taking a look at that. And those are the updates I have.
Awesome. So before we set the date for the next ECCE meeting, which will be in the spring, what would y'all like? Maybe would there be a subject similarly to tonight where we brought in somebody to speak on something specific? Is that working for you guys? And these are your meetings, so speak up. I'm overwhelmed by the response. Well, I can well, here's Christine. She's got a thumbs up. Speaking,
Well,
just general support.
Liz, I'll definitely share with you what the Climate Collaborative's focuses come out to be, what those like core climate concerns are, in case that helps to navigate that conversation at all. I'll definitely share that with you so you can share it with the group as well. So.
Yeah, and actually it probably makes most sense for people to weigh in after they've had a moment to think about it as we get closer. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months at any rate. And so there may be burning issues by then that you'll want to discuss. So I hope everybody, I hope, is facile with the website, ecce.website. And please use it. And my I don't think my email's on it, but I am going to put my email on it. But I am trying to pass the torch. So if anybody feels very much like they'd like to take over, please let me know. Very happy to have you take over. It's not complicated. You do have to have some skills with the website, but it's real rudimentary. So so the next spring ECCE meeting would be Thursday, June 4th or June 11th. Does anybody have any preference, one or the other? I would go for June 4th if I don't hear from, yeah, there's one head nod in from Patricia and Tom. All right. Well, that will be it then. Our next ECCE meeting will be June 4th. The video will be available on the website so that you can check out the parts that you want and play them for the rest of the committees and so on. And I'm very, very grateful that you all showed up. And it's happy Tea Day and holidays in general to all of you. Anybody have anything else they need to put forward? I don't see anything. My dog's in my lap, so it's time for me to say sayonara. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.